What's up, guys? This is Coach Grant with First Down Training, and today we're going to be breaking down a great wide receiver football IQ quiz to test your knowledge of the position. So I hope this video helps you guys out. Hope it could teach you a few new things. But also, fellas, if you are a wide receiver and would like a daily training schedule that you can follow with over 500 plus wide receiver drills and gym exercises all mapped out into daily workout splits, check out that very first link in the description below for our ultimate 8-week wide receiver workout plan. It's 2 months of exercises and on-field drills. We give you examples of each drill and each gym exercise, and we break down the exact sets and reps for you to follow. So check out that very first link in the description below if you are interested in that, fellas. Let's get started with this video. So if you're not familiar with our quiz style videos, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show a pre-snap look, ask you a series of questions about that pre-snap look, and then I'm going to break down the correct answer and why your answer may have been right or why it may have been wrong. So I hope this video helps you guys out. So first example here, fellas, we're going to be talking about how you can run, how would you run a post out versus this inside shade off man coverage DB. Okay, so how would you run a post out route? Some people call this a martini route because it looks like a martini glass. Some people call this a blaze out route. So how would you run a post out versus inside shade off man? So you guys can go ahead and pause the video and think about your answers. So pause the video. All right, let's break this thing down. So anytime that you are running a double move route against one of these like kind of awkward coverage looks, you have to keep in mind you would run the exact same way you would run the first move of this route. So this is a post, then an out. So you would run a post out versus inside shade off man the same way you'd run a post route versus inside shade off man. Because as wide receivers, we have to make my routes look similar. That's how I can be unpredictable. So you have inside shade off man coverage. How would you run a post? You would attack this DB's outside shoulder, attack his outside hip. Our goal would be to get him to flip his hips so you could slip under. I've seen some guys attack, go to that outside shoulder and hip and give a move, get the DB to jump and slip under on the post. You would not stem him to the inside and attack his midline because remember, this DB's lined up inside shade for a reason. His goal is to protect the inside, force everything to the outside. So that can't be my goal. Now, some of you might be thinking, well, coach, what if I stem him to the inside, break in front of him? He's already way inside, then I break on the out route. You can't run a post route versus off man different than how you would run a post out versus off man because a good DB is going to pick up on that. If the only time you stem to the inside is when you're running that post out or a post corner, whatever it is, that DB is going to pick up on that. If you do that over and over and over again, he will start to see it. You have to run it the same way to be unpredictable. So let's look at Elijah Moore run this route here. He attacks the outside shoulder, breaks in, 3 hard steps, gets that DB to crash, and then is able to win on that route. Even with a slip, right? He slipped a little bit because it looks like he's trying to cut off of the outside foot rather than the inside foot. That's neither here nor there for this example right now, but you notice the way he ran the route. He didn't change anything because it was a double move. That's how you're a real salesman on your routes, fellas. Think of it just like basic day one stuff. How would you run a fade? You would just run like, let's say we got inside shade press. How would you run a fade? You would attack this guy inside, then go outside. How would you run a comeback versus the same inside shade press? You wouldn't just take off and go run the comeback. You'd attack him, make it look like a fade, then break it off. That's how you want to treat double moves when you have an awkward coverage look. And that also helps timing with the quarterback because the quarterback is expecting you to do this, not inside stem, post, and then out. It's not everything's one-on-ones, fellas. There's a lot of timing, especially at this level, that goes into it. So let's play this thing full speed one more time. Great example of Elijah Moore running a double move, exactly how he would run the single move. Okay, so now this next example here is from George Pickens, and I want to ask you guys, how would you run a dig, so like a 10 to 12 yard dig versus this type of coverage, and what type of coverage is this? So how would you run a dig versus this coverage, and what type of press coverage is this from the DB? So you guys can go ahead and pause the video and think about your answers. So pause the video. All right, let's break this thing down. So this example here, there are a couple different options I would say on this, but there's really maybe like this video is very much so about like the plan that you would have as a wide receiver coming up when you see this look. What's my plan? My plan is to do this. My plan is to do that. My plan is to work this release, that release. There are going to be times where a release may not work, and you're going to have to react as a wide receiver. That's not necessarily what this is about. So if you have to run a dig, first and foremost, what type of coverage is this? It's obviously press, but what leverage? Is it inside, head up, or outside? This looks a lot like head up press coverage, right? So if you said that Pickens would attack him to the outside, take an inside release, work to stack, and then break on the dig, or take an inside release and just break it off, maybe lean into him at the break, that would be correct. And that's ultimately what he ends up doing. So let's play this thing full speed. So he comes off, gives a little move outside, inside release, gives a move at the break, and you see how the separation he's able to get. Now, let's talk about this, right? Why would he take the inside release? Why would he not take the outside release? Because normally on these like wide receiver quiz videos, what I'll show is like a harder look, right? I'll show you having to run a dig versus inside shade press. How would you run that route? You'd attack him and take the outside release and work to stack, then break it off, right? But since he's head up, we don't really know, right? Like this DB could very easily jump to the inside. This DB very easily could jump to the outside, or he could just stay put right here. So ideally, when I come up to the line, my goal is probably, okay, I'm going to give him a move to the outside. And Pickens is using this like split release. We're going to talk about this in a second. I'm going to give him a move outside because ideally, I would love an inside release on an inside breaking route. You want that on an inside breaking route. You don't want to have to throw by or stack with an outside release. We could do it if we need to, but ideally we don't want that. So that should probably be your plan up top. Now, Pickens, when he does this split release, a split release is where your front foot goes out and your back foot comes up. So you're splitting your feet and both cleats are making contact with the grass at the exact same time. So now let's say, for example, this is a great, and again, this is a great reactionary release. Let's say, for example, we split, this DB jumps to the inside because both cleats are in the grass and you're in a balanced position. Pickens could easily just put the brakes on and take the outside release and react. So that's something I recommend you guys do versus head up coverage. You want to have a plan to obviously, okay, I want to take the inside release. But if he takes it away and he jumps or he overcommits, I'm prepared to take the outside release. So like, let's say, for example, you have a DB who's like 2 to 3 yards off and he's playing the same way head up. You would want to close the distance with him. And then, you know, hey, my thought process is probably I want to try to take an inside release, but if I close the distance and he shades inside, let's be prepared to go outside. Anytime you get head up, we have to be prepared for either. But obviously, ideally, we would like to release to the side of the break. So let's play this again, full speed one more time. This is a great job by Pickens, great job stacking, giving a move, creating space, then obviously making that catch over the middle. Okay, so now, next example here. This coverage, all right? Tell me what type of coverage this is. And how would you guys run a post route versus this coverage? So how would you guys run a post route versus this coverage, and what type of coverage is it? So you guys can go ahead and pause the video and think about your answer. So pause the video. All right, let's break this thing down. So if you guys said the exact same thing as the last example, you guys would be correct because it is the exact same thing. You guys want to run your routes like conceptually wise based off of inside breaking and outside breaking. Like the releases that you choose are not necessarily based off of what route you're running, based off of, you know, like it's based off of two things, like inside or outside breaking, and then obviously the DB, where his leverage is and where his distance is. So this DB's head up press, like, and you could tell because they have this white line right here. You see how this wide receiver is lined up on the white line and the DB is straddling the white line? That means his front foot is going right down the middle of his body. So if we have to run a post, we're probably going to try to set him up to the outside. So this wide receiver, again, that release looks pretty familiar. Split release, both feet coming to balance. DB jumps to the outside because he sold it well with this fake. But if this DB jumped to the inside, he very easily could just put the brakes on and take the outside release because he's in a balanced base, fellas. So I'm going to play this full speed, but this is pretty much exactly how it wants to go down. Head up press, fellas. You got to be prepared to do anything. But you obviously want to release, like we said, to the side of the route. That's exactly how you run that deep post. Let's talk scenarios, right? Like, let's say maybe we do this split and this DB starts to, like, inch back a little bit. Would you just try to run around? No, you close the space. Let's go attack him because you have the luxury to change up the release or to make the release more reactionary based when that DB moves because we went to balance with the split. So, again, fake to the outside, have a plan to go in. Don't be afraid to react and take what he gives you. Let's play this again, full speed one more time. Great job with that split release, taking the inside release, and then winning over the top. All right, fellas, really want to thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. If you have any questions at all, don't hesitate to leave those in the comment section below. Always appreciate the feedback. Always great to hear from you guys. And again, fellas, if you would like an 8-week wide receiver on-field and gym workout schedule that you can do, everything mapped out with the exact sets and reps to follow, check out that very first link in the description below. We'd love to get you on that, fellas. I'll see you guys next time.